Hello and welcome to episode 300 of the Daily Sales Message Sales Podcast, where every single day for 300 days in a row, so nearly a year, 300 days in a row, I've provided you with a piece of simple and actionable advice. It's designed to help you feel more confident and sell more stuff too. And we've covered a lot of things, as you can imagine, in 300 episodes, and I try my very best not to repeat myself. It might happen unknowingly here or there, but I try and make every episode as unique as possible. In today's episode, we're talking about expensive and remembering a particular facet of being expensive. So sometimes, or very often, we have this objection, it's a bit expensive, can't afford it whenever. We have to remember this. Expensive is a relative concept. We're comparing it against something. The question is what? So when somebody says you're expensive, we need to ask them this question. What makes you say that? What makes you say that? Obviously, we can change the verbiage around it. We don't turn you into a robot. But along those lines of what makes you say that? Because they're going to then tell you what their reference point is. So you think we're expensive? Well, thanks for sharing that with me. What makes you say that? Have you had a previous quote? Did you just have an idea in mind? And they might say, oh, well, we had a previous quote, blah, blah, blah. And then obviously you can look at that and see if it's apples with apples. Or they might say, well, I just figured it would cost about this and it's not really based on anything. But to overcome the expensive objection, you need to understand what their reference point is. What are they comparing it against? Because expensive is relative. And I'll give you kind of a quick example. I've got a car in my garage. It's been sat there for a few years now. It doesn't run, unfortunately. So it's a non-running car, but once you fix it, you can get it back on the road. You will be able to drive it. It's a few years old now, but it's still perfectly drivable. I want £5,000 for it. Would you buy it from me? Now you might be thinking, well, no, a non-running old crappy car in your garage for £5,000, James? No, that seems expensive, doesn't it? Because you're comparing the price of what I'm talking to you about against your notion of this crappy car that doesn't seem to work anymore. If I told you it was a Ferrari 360 Challenge in Rosso Corsa that's been sat in my garage for a couple of years, doesn't drive, needs a little bit of TLC, blah, 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 but it's £5,000. Bearing in mind the street value of that car is north of £150,000. Now, it's a bargain. It's cheap. So it's gone from expensive to cheap because of what you know about it, because of your reference point. So just remember that expensive is a relative concept. Your job is to find what's the reference point. What is somebody comparing you against? And that is how you're going to overcome it. And we do that by simply asking them what makes you say that, or why do you say that, so we can find what the reference point is. Right, that's it for this episode of the Daily Sales Message Sales Podcast. Tomorrow in episode 301, we're still on the topic of expensive, but we're looking at it from a different angle. I'll tell you more in tomorrow's episode. I'm off now to celebrate because I've done 300 of these in a row, 300 episodes in a row. Quite proud of myself. I actually put off the Daily Sales Message Podcast for 4 years. I think it was 4 years. If you go back through the Spotify history, you will see that the trailer for this was recorded in 2019 when I bought the domain name and I had the idea for the podcast. Then I did absolutely nothing with it until 2023, and now with 300 episodes in, I'm loving it. I really enjoy recording every episode, and I get great feedback from listeners and clients too, so it's all good. Thank you for listening or watching all the way to the end. I do appreciate it. I'll catch you tomorrow for another edition.